Good evening. Infamous coward punch killer Kieran Loveridge has pleaded guilty in a Mount Druitt court to heroin charges. It's been 14 years since Loveridge killed innocent teenager Thomas Kelly on a King's Cross street in an unprovoked, drunken rage. And he was only given parole on the condition he never took drugs.
He knows courtrooms well, and today Kieran Loveridge was back before a judge, accused of using drugs while on parole for the manslaughter of Thomas Kelly.
Kieran, how does it feel to be back in court?
The 32-year-old was 1 month away from finishing his parole when police searched his Glendenning home in April, finding a bag of heroin next to his bed.
What do you have to say to people? Obviously you've served your time in prison, but now you're already going back to court for a drug offence?
Loveridge served 11 years behind bars for the unprovoked one-punch attack that killed Thomas Kelly in King's Cross in 2012, a crime which led to Sydney's controversial lockout laws.
I think the thing that's the hardest for me to try and comprehend is that he lost his life for nothing.
Loveridge's lawyer today is saying he turned to drugs after becoming a parent, knowing Thomas Kelly never will. The birth of his young child seemed to be a catalyst for an acute period of shame and guilt, having taken that opportunity from that young man.
This time, Kieran Loveridge avoided a jail sentence. Instead, he was placed on a 6-month community corrections order. One of his conditions is that he must continue medical treatment for drug abuse. So you are clean from drugs now?
Yeah.
The government had tried to extend his supervision order for the manslaughter sentence when it expired in May. The application rejected.
I particularly understand the victims' families who'd be, very worried and horrified by this decision.
And despite his parole breach, Loveridge continues to walk free. Sam Payne, 7 News.
A food delivery driver has been charged after crashing his hire car into a fountain in Hyde Park. And it gets worse. Police allege the French national had no driver's licence and clearly no sense of direction.
In the dead of night and in the drink, the final stop on this food delivery driver's Hyde Park detour.
He refused to be interviewed, but we are alleging that he's got confused.
The hire car captured on security video reversing through the park at 3 a.m. straight into the Archibald Fountain, allegedly on his way to drop off an order.
He was eating the food when police arrived on scene. So I'm sure there's some unhappy customer out there who still haven't had their Maccas delivered.
The 21-year-old French national only arrived in Australia 2 weeks ago when 7 News can reveal he registered for an ABN as a sole trader. It's believed he's delivered meals by bike in France since 2023. Returning a negative breath test at the scene, nitrous oxide canisters found nearby.
They were at the scene, they were seized.
He was taken for further testing, charged with negligent driving, not reversing safely and, for now, driving without a valid licence.
At this point, he hasn't produced one, which is why we've gone with that additional charge.
Thankfully, the damage to the Archibald Fountain appears to be minimal. But of all of the fountains this driver could have crashed into, it had to be the one that's a tribute to the camaraderie between Australia and France in World War I.
The fountain's still operating.
As for the driver, he'll face court next month. Amber Laidler, 7 News.
If interest rates and inflation weren't enough of a concern, new figures today will do little to ease the fears of households across Australia. GDP growth is slowing, up just 0.3% over the start of the year. And that's not even counting the blow to the economy dealt by the Iran war.
Ask AI what's saving the Australian economy from going backwards, and the answer is AI, specifically the data centres powering it.
The fact that we've got any growth at all, given the challenging global circumstances, I think is welcome.
Economic growth falling to 0.3% in the March quarter, 2.5% annually.
This is very solid in the circumstances.
But circumstances driven by short-term record investment in computer servers to drive the massive data centres emerging in our major cities, with most other sectors flat at best.
The response from the Treasurer has been to give himself a participation award.
I think we're in store for a pretty challenging 2026 for the Australian economy.
Spending up a little, exports down as cyclones smashed mine production. The future outlook, grim.
Not all of the impacts, obviously, of the war in Iran are being captured in these national accounts. It's the front end of that.
Just the first month. And there's a big structural problem. Working hours are up, but productivity is down. Australians working harder to make less. Economists expecting a per capita recession, 2 quarters of growth per person going backwards. But
a little bit too early to say whether a full recession is on the cards.
Shoppers feeling the pinch.
Things like vegetables are maybe up to maybe $1 more expensive lately.
It's atrocious. It's not the best.
And possibly about to get worse. And tonight, Donald Trump is threatening to slap Australia and other countries with a new 12.5% tariff. He says because they're not doing enough to stop the importation of goods made with forced labour. In other words, from China. But it's really being seen as a way for America to continue fleecing its trading partners after Trump's original 10% tariffs expire next month. Why? To help pay for his war in Iran. I'm told the Australian government is lodging its objections.
Mark Riley in Canberra, thank you. A man accused of deliberately ramming his car into a Mudgee police station has been found dead in his cell. Donnie Hobbs drove his ute into the building during a farewell for a senior officer last Friday. The 67-year-old was in custody at Bathurst Correctional Centre. His death will be referred to the coroner. Police had to drag a man out of the Downing Centre court complex in the city this afternoon after he allegedly threatened to take guns inside and attack court security staff. He's been charged and will face court tomorrow. Underworld figure Mick Gatto and his wife have been arrested at their Victorian home. Police searched the couple's property on the Mornington Peninsula this morning as part of an investigation into alleged financial offences. They've been interviewed by police. No charges have been laid. A man who was charged for booing during Sydney's Anzac Day dawn service has himself been heckled as he fronted court for the first time. Eli Toby today admitted breaking the law but refused to apologise, saying he was standing up for his beliefs.
It is the moment a protester was confronted by protesters and the heckler was heckled.
You're disgusting! Racist scum! You racist piece of...
Eli Toby arrives to face the consequences after breaking a sacred silence during Sydney's Anzac Day dawn service.
For thousands of years, people have gathered in this place to share stories.
My behaviour was not designed to be offensive to Aboriginals or First Nations people, he told the court. The welcome to country has become over-politicised, specifically at Anzac ceremonies. I was doing what I believed was the right thing at the time.